Hi, I was watching Donald Trump's speech in the Rose Garden on April 2nd regarding the reciprocal tariffs that he's going to impose on other countries. And I was struck by this chart that he shared, which has really two columns. The first column he calls the tariff charged by the USA, and the second is what we're now going to tariff these countries at, the rate that we're now going to tariff them at. So you can see, for example, that China is 67%. That's allegedly how much, that's the tariff charged to the United States, 67%. And then, so we're now going to charge 34% going forward. That's the big Trump tariff change. And you can see the European Union is 39%, and we're going to charge 20%. Likewise, Vietnam, 90%. We're going to charge now 46%. And you can see that roughly what we're going to charge them going forward is about half the percentage of what's in the first column there, what they're charging us. So I saw this, and I'm an independent, and I'm not a big Trump fan by any means, but and so I always question the numbers he shares because they're almost always either exaggerated or perhaps better described as a lie, and I think that's the case here. I saw the numbers like 67% for China, and I was a little shocked. I was like, wow, did China really charge us 67% tariff on all the goods they import from the United States? Likewise, does the European Union charge us 39%? And, when you see that chart, you feel like, well, I guess we should be fighting back. We really are getting ripped off by these countries. But it also at the same time struck me as like, really? Could China really be charging a 67% tariff? Could the European Union be charging 39% and Japan 46%? Could that really be right? And so I started to do some research, and I found tariff numbers that were nowhere near these numbers. I mean, tariffs on the order of 3% from some of these countries. So I started to dig in a little bit. How do you get, for example, 67% for China? Well, I searched the web for a bit, and I found a few articles that actually explained it. The 67% or the 39% for the European Union, basically you take the trade deficit with that country and you divide it by the total amount the U.S. imports. So just to give some, strange numbers. Stop. Better yet, let me give you some real numbers, and we'll do an actual calculation. In the case of China, so how do we get the 67% for China? Like I said, the way Trump's describing it, you would think that they tariff are in the goods they import from the United States at a 67% rate. So the way that's actually computed is what you do is you take the trade deficit and you divide it by the total worth of imported goods. So, for example, in 2024, the trade deficit between the United States and China was $295.4 billion. Okay? And now you divide that by the total amount of goods imported from China. And that amount is 439.9 billion. So 295.4 billion divided by 439.9 billion gives you the 67%. So so that rate has nothing to do with how they tariff us. They don't tariff us anywhere near 67%. It's really a reflection of the trade deficit we have with that country. It's like I said, it's the trade deficit divided by the total amount we import from them. So that kind of normalizes it by dividing it by the total amount. But it has nothing to do with tariff. It has to do with trade deficit. And, why I'm not an economist, but why do we have such a large trade deficit with China? And are they to blame for that? Perhaps, I don't know. But I think it's so large in part because we get really cheap things from China. American consumers like to buy lower cost things, get a good deal, and hence we buy a ton of stuff from China. So really the point here is that Trump describes this as a tariff charge to the United States. And I'll show the video a bit. He even will say things like, well, here, we're only charging 34%. And that's the tariff we're going to now charge them. And wow, we're really not being that aggressive given that they're charging us 67%. And it's really completely apples and oranges. This is an actual tariff we're going to charge on goods imported from China. This has nothing to do with a tariff imposed by them. This has to do, he calls it tariffs charged to the U.S. It's a calculation which I just shared based on the trade deficit. So, and if you listen to him, um, yeah, see that? How can, like, we're giving them a good deal. We're only going to charge half of what they charge. They do not charge us 39%. So essentially half of an apples to oranges comparison. Yeah, it's just disturbing that he could stand up and deceive and he knows he's deceiving the American people. This chart is designed to deceive us. Whether it's right or wrong to have tariffs, this is really terrible leadership to deceive your people like this, to thinking that we have a 67%, China has a 67% tariff rate on us, and now we're going to charge them 34%, and we're going to give them a good deal, according to Trump. We could have gone up to the 67%, which is what they charge us. That's just so misleading, and it's designed to mislead. So I don't know. I had to do this video because it just really bothered me, and I hope independents and Republicans will ask questions like, where do these numbers come from? Whenever Trump shares a number, you really have to be on guard. Thanks for listening. Take care.